The latter was relaxed, because the misunderstanding is resolved so that he asked Kalia to the point. And she comments that she just wanted to come and visit, after finishing some business in this area. Alan understands that he did not come for any particular reason, but unfortunately he has work to do, so he can't stay with them for long. Callie understood the situation perfectly, and thanked him for taking the time to care for her. Proceeding to withdraw for the time being, Alan recommended him to go with the Duchess, because he believes that both will get along very well, something that made Callie nervous. Although he agreed to visit the Duchess anyway. And minutes later, her carriage left the palatial mansion. Even doesn't understand what a family was doing here, ruined like Sinania, something Alan doesn't know either. Although he feels it could be problematic, because if they spread this rumor, false that he used original magic, many would come to challenge him, because they will think he is strong. You really hope Kalia understood what she meant. As there is no way for Zenania to visit Pi because these two families compete in the underworld, and with that he wanted to tell him not to come here again. In the carriage Kalia Dias really used original magic, to which Bianco replied that he did not, making her not understand why Bianco reacted like that. Mentions that the magic of origin is of the type that traces their own laws on and visit absolute and immutable principles, something that only the Cuspo of magicians is allowed to do, but Count LM was different, and when he used his watchful eye to examine its magic, realized that he was tearing his own canvas. Was basically twisting those principles that are supposed to be absolute and immutable. First he fixed the lightning, then twisted it and collapsed the law. But even after that, the magic manifested itself without problems. So what they saw was a mirror that was impossible to replicate. As if that were not enough, after that he saw a giant ion, Alan being clearly of the great forgotten god. And this makes him want to stop thinking, because it will be dangerous if it continues like this. In his youth he immersed himself both in the knowledge, old, that it praised for their research on the magic of the, was forgotten, so he asked Kalia never to think of it. Opposed Palace Ha. An impressed Kalia comprises, which means that it is totally, I wish someone as insignificant as her would try to find out what Alan's plans are. Remembering when he asked her to come visit the Duchess, Altia what leaves you, of course, he has already become a pawn for himself. 5 months later they had already, 2 years after the children left the orphanage. So Alan asked Evan if he got any new information, even better if it is about children. He even denied knowing anything about the latter. But he heard that apparently the County, Denania, and the Duchy of Altia have allied themselves, which surprised Alan because they are the two greats of the underworld, and Ivan mentions that since it is an alliance of the underworld, no one from outside can know, but you are sure of the veracity of this information. Alan took his hands to his head because it is true that he could guide the deadly sins down another path. But now it has to, dealing with an alliance of two big criminal masterminds, believing that the kingdom of Asteria is about to go to hell. In that he remembers that he was the one who advised Kalia to go with Lorian, not being able to believe that I have taken it seriously. Although it is surely only a temporary alliance, since Kalia is someone cold and. However, I should make some preparations just in case. Begin writing a letter to Kalia apologizing for having sounded abrupt and cold, claiming that he is not very good at expressing himself, and while continuing writing hopes this will not seem like an excuse. After a while he ordered the letter from Ivan, who will send it through the mercenary guild, and now Alan wonders what Raiden and Silran will be like, as he has not heard from them since Yusha told him that they had arrived at their destination, and hopes that they will not be lifeless lying in the street. He has indeed found the gift of the one who spoke to her in the letter. She should become the pinnacle of Babaluga wrestlers. The gift in question is the essence of the main tribe, that, by equipping it, provides a 20% chance of taking a hit. Critical, and if the sin of pride had obtained it, corruption would never have fallen, but in its place would have become a great wolf for his tribe, or at least that's what the description of the object said. Believes she has enough talent to make money on her own. So it should be fine, because that place is the nation of fighters, where strength can give the whole world. In the nation of the Eve colony, there was a cave in the middle of a wasteland, and inside was Salrin, who was very happy because he tries it at last. Now cannot do more than thank you to the big moon for this gift. For I don't understand that the essence of the main tribe, Golden, really existed, because before, I thought he was just a legend. He was told, as a child in the past, her mother told him that those of this tribe are the descendants of the king of all men, beasts, and the essence of the tribe of Golden Mane is an object, legendary, that has been inherited during hundreds of years, which gives them strength and authority. Now she got that object and passed all the tests in the inner world, becoming much more powerful than it was, thinking that the big moon saved her in the biological experiment and gave him the power to take revenge on the black dragon that eliminated his parents. Therefore you have to return that favor, and is sure that His Majesty, Alan, does not want her to become a mediocre gladiator. so she must become the strongest gladiator. The Golden Mane tribe will also be revived, gathering its scattered members. And with that power he will be able to annihilate the Black Dragon. All this is thanks to Alan. So he's about to start with his mission, and the tribe of the Golden Mane will be revived under the Blue Moon, after 500 years. The event recalls that the Information Guild obtained some data on the children, and first comments that it is. Oren has been performing very well in the colony, earning the alias of Golden Flash, a name that Alan is sorry to have heard before. Although he's glad he's okay anyway. Ivan mentioned that in those lands you can be whatever you want to be, if you have the strength, and in that, Alan questioned about Raiden, as he knew nothing about. Since he said he was learning to work in Raktas. Even reveals that they have information about him, but they are still in the process of verifying whether it is real, and to all this, Alan mentions that he is supposed to be busy. Eva does not understand why she puts those eyes on her, because he has already done everything he asked for, but Alan recommended that you prepare because it takes at least a month to reach the tower. Evan was surprised because it should only take a week. Reach the Green Arrow Tower, but Alan clarified that they are heading to the Blue Arrow Tower, making Evan understand the situation. Recognizing that this tower is close to the labyrinthine city, so it is far away. With that clear, Evan will begin preparations immediately, playing Alan solo, who felt tired of just thinking about spending a month in a cart, but it can't do anything else either, because the object that can behold its small and valuable championship of mana is there. The Labyrinth City brings back memories. Since he spent a lot of time in the game farming in that area, the labyrinth in the center of the city is the map to level up in psychedelia, where the player can obtain higher quality objects, raising the level and going deeper and deeper into the. However, no one has come to an end, despite the fact that many have visited the labyrinth. So everyone believed that the developers wanted to see them suffer. Alan thinks that relics and artifacts can be found there constantly, and that is why the work of an appraiser official place has become so popular that it guarantees a comfortable life. Ryan said she will soon take the appraiser exam, something that should not be a problem thanks to his talent, although he thinks he gave her a gift that was too small compared to the others, because all it does is appraise equipment, and if that gift was not enough, should send you separate support. Then we are presented with the city, Lartania Labyrinth, a place ruled by no one, being the city of explorers and mercenaries, where, passing through countless stores, in a corner of the southern area, you can find a secret appraisal store called Shit. That place was winning, quietly famous for its unique services. So it mainly served nobles and explorers of rank 2. Among its customers, even the Lord of Artania himself is found, to whom Ryan told him that this device ignites flames with mana. It is also a relic that can be printed. The Lord of Artania, what is the printed skill? Alok, Ryan replied that with just a little mana he calls her, will remain on for at least 1 hour by making the Lord of Artania praise her, because its efficiency has improved. Drastic comment. With that made, the gentleman left the place, and Ryan was able to remove his mask after a long time, turning to see a small telescope, which can also be printed. There he reveals that the impression is the reason why this store has become so famous, and in one room was the gift given to him by Alan. She confesses that at first she did not understand the reason why the Big Moon asked her to become an appraiser, remembering that his real identity is that of a friend of Palon from the era of the forgotten outer gods, and understood that everything until now it had been to eliminate the black things. That the problem was that I could not relate the employment of appraiser with the objective of eliminating black things, but as soon as he saw his gift he could figure it out, for there was the stalking eye, which quickly identifies objects below a certain mana threshold to assist with appraisal. However, that is something different from what she knows. In fact, its existence does not even exist in the library, and after breaking the stamps unlocked the print yet has to awaken this object in order to obtain the strength to fight against black things, revealing that this skill is a skill and a means to offer sacrifices. Currently carries 248 out of 500, so it is still missing 252 sacrifices, more to wake you up completely. And in exchange for increasing statistics of a relic, this absorbs something from them, causing an essential change in the eye. However, the eye only reacts to certain high-level relics, and in case of sacrificing an incorrect object, accumulation disappears to cup with precision. All relics and select high-level sacrifices to mark with impressions is something that only she can. To think the fact that he was born with the Library of Eternity, more than clear to him that this is intended to eliminate the black wool, and everything is according to the will of the Great Moon. 3 weeks later, R already had the Blue Sky Tower in sight, and once inside they were received by the Vice Master of the tower, being a sixth circle magician named Penny Krasang, which strongly asked them to present their case so that they could leave later, because she is very busy. Alam was surprised that Penny is the vice princess of the tower, even though the main story has not yet begun. Remembering that she was a unique genius in the century that reached the long circle at the early age of 20 and became the princess of the tower. The magic tower is not only powerful, but also monopolizes the reproduction of certain essential goods, which makes their status equivalent to that of the nobles. It is true that the authority of the vice teacher, who has transcended human boundaries, is very high, but he is still surprised that he treats him this way. Proceeding to formally present themselves as the Count Palatine, revealing that he came to speak on the issue of the time gate. Penia, without giving it importance, asked him to get straight to the point, and Alan mentions that you can eliminate the time gate. It is explained that this is a great crack that connects to a hidden subspace and appears in places where magic is often used, causing anomalies that cause significant damage. Penna does not understand how he intends to eliminate the door of time with such a low talent, so he ordered him to leave, and Alan insisted on trying. Penna understands who came to eliminate the door to reclaim the treasure, but he was quite angry because many people come up with this issue. Alan reiterated that he is telling the truth. He simply wants me to guide him to prove it to him, and inside thinks she has a terrible personality. Vina says he can understand that he needs something huge to turn public opinion around due to that people is beginning to discover that he became Count by pure luck when his brothers passed away. But that does not mean that he can bring his business here and stir up a fuss before the damn mana burst. Alan thinks about the fact that he didn't even know about those rumors, and I may be a workaholic, but she is well informed about the world. Exterior. It is already very clear to him that Penna is quite scary. I'll go loc. Van agrees, because he caused all this alone with his Manakuro, and I would surely break them in half if they try to mess with her. The problem is that Alan is quite desperate, so he offered all its properties to the tower in case of not being able to eliminate the time door, which seems silly to Penna, but Alan showed himself willing to take an oath, so it is not a bad offer, in exchange for a little of your time, and that made Penna change his mind. Then she took him to the room in which it is located, the door of time, reminding him to take all its wealth at the time it fails, although Alan warned him that all this will not happen to Penna. Seems appropriate, because he wondered if it is really the brains of the county or just a lucky in. And after listening to it for a while, is convinced that it is closer to the latter. Unlike the inhumane atmosphere that surrounds it, only has a small mana formation and an energy perception ability higher than average population, which means that his talent is on the edge of the second circle, considering it pathetic. Alan remember that in reality there is no need to close the door, since in 3 months will disappear naturally after spitting the relic, terminating the investigation. In the end, no magician capable of closing it appeared, but the cracks in the Blue Angel Tower continued to wreak havoc for 2 more years. Penna recommended him to leave immediately if there is nothing he can do, although that's where he moves if he thinks. Use your hands as a half instead of a cane. Thinking that even the old tonemos of magic classify it as a primitive method, something considered almost like a resigned fairy tale. Asked him to stop imitating weird things to get the hell out of here. But suddenly everything seemed to freeze, scaring her because nothing is moving. Instinctively activated his eye of observation to analyze the magic, seeing that there is a huge eye on Alan which was open to be viewed directly. The eye of observation is supposed to seize through the essence of the unknown. It's that simple, but now your whole body shouts at him that this is something he should not understand, forcing her to think of nothing. The huge eye reached out a hand to tell him to keep absolute silence, and panicking Penny understood what Alan has just ordered you to. The eye proceeded to close slowly. I found Penny terrified by what she has just witnessed, feeling a pressure I had never experienced before. Alan warned him that the door has already been closed, so he will take the relic. And he thinks this was very simple, because I only had to use one object, and a special method.